my name is Leonie Steenkamp. I'm from STBB Tiger Valley, one of the conveyancers there. And today in the studio we have Andre Kritzinger from Realtors Property Group, and he'll be joining us with our discussion today about managing your risk both from a sale process as well as a transferring process. In today's day and age, it is so important for a seller and a buyer, especially if you're a first-time seller or buyer, to really understand how you can mitigate your risk and manage that expectations, and that's both from the agent as well as the conveyancer's side. So, Andre, just how do you go about managing your risk with your agent, as an agent with your sellers and your buyers?
Thank you, Leonie. Thanks for having me here today. I think it's so important managing that risk, like you said, actually from day one. And I think my role as a real estate agent, it starts from the day we start marketing your property, or that first day you view your first home you would like to buy. It's such a crucial process because it's probably the most valuable asset you'll ever buy. So my job as a real estate agent probably starts from the day you market your property, and we assist our clients with that right exposure. And from a buyer's point of view, we sort of help them making informed decisions. And we use a lot of tools to help us and implement those strategies.
So you've mentioned that you use tools to actually manage those risks to your seller and your buyer. What are the tools that you actually do implement and use?
It's a very good question. Technology is our friend. So we use data to help assist our sellers to make the right price for when they sell their property, the marketing price, and probably the offers they will receive. From a buyer's perspective of view, we've realized that buyers tend to have more information available to them, they're more informed, and we need to assist them to help them buy a fair market value property.
That's very true. You know, as another tool that I actually think comes to mind is the fact that you actually use your contract of sale to implement that and to manage the risk from both the seller and the buyer's perspective. I actually recently had a situation where my buyer phoned, he's just moved in, and now the garage door isn't working.
And load shedding, now the battery's also flat, right?
Exactly that, exactly. Load shedding is the big problem. But I mean, now ultimately your buyer is sitting with that risk, and I know there's the agent actually uses that disclosure form also initially to manage that risk. Perhaps you can tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. So part of our business and our contract is to let the seller fill in a disclosure form where the seller discloses all the defects of the property. So again, managing your risk from that point is very important that your seller discloses that and your buyer is aware of that. So the buyer's also got a responsibility to make themselves aware of all the defects at the property.
I think also, thinking about managing that risk, you would always have that clause in, for foot stewards.
Yes.
But, and initially, from an agent's perspective, you manage that risk by informing both your seller and your buyer. But then after that fact, once I get that phone call, then it's that legal type of managing the risk that we are now facing.
A different perspective, absolutely. It goes into the next phase. I think that's where the conveyancer, the next step is to go to the conveyancer.
Exactly, and you know what, we've from STBB's point of view, we usually try and resolve situations in terms of a legal perspective and what's contractually sound and fair towards the parties. Perhaps you can look at doing settlement agreements or something to that extent. But I mean that ultimately also boils down to managing that risk for both your seller and your buyer.
Absolutely, and I think of the whole process. Looking back, communication is so important. It feels we start the process and I need to start communicating that risk from day one. We live in a modern world that's technology driven. We need to use that technology to communicate even more. And if you're unsure about anything, I would rather ask the question.
No, definitely. I think as a seller and a buyer, ultimately, you also need to know what your risks are, but if you feel unsure, you need to communicate that. I mean, various risks that come to mind from my side as a legal perspective would be on your seller's point of view where he might have a capital gains tax implication, yes, or your buyer might have an occupational problem, and that is ultimately what the situation is on both your seller and your buyer's side, and that needs to be communicated, point one,
Exactly.
to either your agent or your conveyancer, and then the risk can be managed.
And you realize again how important it is to choose the right real estate agent and your conveyancer. They need to talk to each other. I start the process by communicating all of those possible risks could be involved in the transaction to the conveyancer.
Exactly. And now, I mean, like we've said, communication is key, and there are various ways of communicating. With STBB, we've got apps, or our STBB Direct app, and emailing and reports and so on. And I understand from an agent's point of view, you guys also have those certain mechanisms in place to make sure that you do get that information and you can manage that risk.
Absolutely. Like I said, technology is our friend.
So to summarize today's talk is as if you are a seller or a buyer, especially first-time seller, first-time buyer, and you want to manage that risk, you need to make sure that you do manage it. You need to communicate to both your agent and your conveyancer what the problems are that you are facing. Make sure that you manage your risk with your contract, as well as the communication that will fall into place after that. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Andre, for being here today. For more information on any property sale, property transfer, visit our website at stbb.co.za.